Dating is the worst. Maybe it's always been this way, or maybe it feels so much more terrible because of the existence of dating apps. When I see the amount of articles and peer-reviewed papers and the sheer amount of people complaining about it, sometimes for the wrong reasons, I can't help but think that dating apps are a huge reason why it's so terrible to be single now. To me, using apps like Tinder and Hinge and Bumble after a long enough period of time end up feeling like nothing more than wish fulfillment mixed with some romanticized escapism. You can just flip through people like you're deciding what cheeseburger combo to order on a McDonald's menu that you'll never get to eat. While online dating is neither wholly good or bad, relationships formed online can actually have stronger long-term satisfaction. There's a common theme as of late that leans more towards the bad. Early dating sites at least took a more in-depth approach than current online dating platforms that now sum up who you are as a unique individual into a scrolling slideshow of prompts and the occasional unhinged voice memo.
I might not be a smart man, but I know what love is.
Visit that guitar hotel in Florida.
I enjoy sunrise. God damn it, David Glass, how do you start this thing?
There's a kidnapping at school today. We woke him up.
Match and OkCupid walked so that Tinder, Hinge, and Bumble could run. The industrial online dating complex has evolved into quick dopamine swiping to keep you glued to the app for longer periods of time, similar to how TikTok and Instagram work with their endless scrollification. And when you don't match with anyone after thousands of attempts, they entice you with a free month of Tinder Gold that you inevitably forget to cancel and are now paying $25 a month to see the people that do actually like you that immediately generalize an entire gender, or are trying to have an affair, or don't understand how dating apps work. You're in more of a relationship with the dating app itself than you ever will be with someone you actually met on those platforms. I recently started getting a lot of content of objectively horrible experiences people are having with Tinder or Hinge first dates, and I was blown away by the complete ineptitude and lack of giving a single shit about wasting people's time by making plans and then ghosting, or treating a date like it's an interview or an excuse to brag to a stranger, or with users who don't even want to be on the app.
And they said something in their profile about like, let's swap dog pictures at a bar. So I messaged them, I say, you trying to swap dog pictures? They unmatched me.
Do these people even know they have a dating profile? Did they make it in some kind of fugue state or while they were drunk and then forget? I guess it's better than guys who take every opportunity to talk about all the things they don't want in a partner.
There is one thing on a dating app that will always cause me to swipe left every single time without fail. And I've been trying to figure out why men do this, and I've been drawing a blank. The only thing I can think of is they're trying to tell us that they are not good partners, but they probably don't think they're doing that. It is when any man is using the allotted space given to him to talk about himself on a dating app profile to talk about what he doesn't like in women instead. Public service announcement. No man has ever felt increased attraction because a woman described herself as classy, sassy, and smart-assy or anything similar. Stop. Like, what do you think you're doing by putting that in your profile?
Dude, it's a dating app, not a complaint box at your local gym. If your standards, quote unquote, are so high that you can't overlook something slightly cringe or a cliche quote a potential future partner says, you've clearly never been in a real relationship. I've dated women who I didn't share every single value or opinion or interest with and still found ways to love them, not because we were exactly the same, but because we were different. I don't want to date myself. Narcissists do. The worst part about this is that it was under his About Me section, which is objectively not about him. It's about women and how much he hates them. You're never going to find a partner if you're turned off by a silly little live, laugh, love slogan someone has on Hinge. That doesn't automatically mean that they don't have other redeeming qualities, or that the woman in question wasn't being sarcastic or ironic, which could have been funny if you were a little less rigid about your preferences. Wait until this potato finds out about morning breath, or that women sometimes grow nipple hair, or that they poop. And these kinds of potential miscommunications or inability to pick up on irony or sarcasm are a huge problem with dating apps in general. It's immensely hard to interpret the tone or inflection of someone's little quip or bits of information because each individual reading a bio brings their own interpretation of what is being communicated. You're forced to sum up who you are as a complicated, nuanced, conscious being in the most elaborately concise, oxymoronic way. Culture, lived experience, sense of humor, these all affect how we read a stranger's response to a Hinge prompt. If you came across someone's profile who had answered the first round is on me prompt with, you know how to dispose of a body, you might read that through the lens of sarcasm and exaggeration and understand it's a joke. A cliche joke, but a joke nonetheless. However, if you're an insufferable loon who's bad at parties, you might immediately disregard this person that has hopes and dreams and potentially better jokes merely for being cringe. On the other hand, you might give a pass to some of these little turnoffs based on whether you find them physically attractive or not, a thing that many dating apps prioritize over personal substance. I'm looking at you, Tinder. Maybe you could let it slide that they've listed spiritual under religion or describe themselves as classy, sassy, and smart-assy if they look like, I don't know, Molly Gordon. I know I would. Awooga. There are a multitude of defining characteristics about a person beyond whether they want kids or not, or are under 6 feet tall. And really, how many of us can afford to be this picky?
These are the kind of prompts I'm talking about, the ones that make me wonder, why are you here? I recently discovered that no one on here really tries. It's basically a big window shopping experience where no one buys. The gentleman doth protest too much because he is not really trying here. Really trying does not include talking about how much you hate this app instead of telling us about you.
Now, I know I'm basically making an entire video that's the equivalent of what this person put in their bio, but I would never actually put this in my own dating profile. It's weird. It'd be like going into a Subway sandwich restaurant and screaming, "Fuck Subway." In fact, fuck sandwiches altogether, all while ordering a Subway sandwich and then eating it in the corner alone out of spite. No one made you go to Subway for lunch. You could have brown bagged it. By which I mean masturbated. Like, I know dating can be rough, but this is not the way to convince someone to take a chance interacting with you in a romantic setting. If you are on a dating app to actually, meet someone, you want to make a good first impression by giving people a glimpse into your more attractive qualities. Not that you'd rather be doing literally anything else, or that you're into crypto. You gotta play to your audience just a little bit, maybe wait until at least the third date to talk about your Bored Ape collection. Instead, try keeping a conversation going by yes-anding questions and being interested and relatable and non-threatening. And if you make plans, actually show up to them.
This is me before I go on another first date with another dude.
Well, this is me after. I arrived at our agreed upon time and he wasn't there. Then he sent me a message, we're about like 10 minutes in or so, and he tells me he's on his way. And I said, I just left. I prefer timeliness. I wish you the best. And I unmatched him and I left.
It's one thing showing up to a friend's birthday party 10 or 15 minutes late because that shit never starts on time, and also they're your friends. It's another thing to show up late to a first date where the whole purpose is to put your best foot forward and show that you're respectful, attentive, and caring, even slightly. Because let's be honest, we're all basically trying to trick potential future romantic partners into believing we're not complete slobs on a date. You can let the facade slide after a couple of months. Until then, keep that shit to yourself. It's the least you could do. Seeing videos of people so extremely frustrated breaks my fucking heart. So many of these videos of testimonials of people getting set up with dipshits boil down to they wasted my time, they didn't follow through, or they're inconsistent. Relationships are work and full of compromises where empathy must be employed pretty much all the time, a skill these people seem to lack entirely. This sort of thing just makes me really sad. Humans didn't evolve to be solitary creatures living in isolation. That's how you get a golem. I've been single for at least 6 years or so for various reasons, some of them having to do with similar dating related issues that led me to kind of give up on dating apps, naively thinking maybe I'll meet someone in the grocery store checkout line like it's the 1950s. But also because all my close friends are now married or moved away, and I don't really have a strong social circle anymore. An unfortunate byproduct of being single in your 30s. Fuck, even just having a 9 to 5 eats up the majority of your time. Like, when am I actually able to take some time for myself or another person? But also because for a long time, I just haven't felt like I was in a good place mentally, emotionally, or financially to be in a relationship. So if you've gotten all the way to someone agreeing to actually meet you in person, especially if it's a woman, what a risk. You're doing better than, what, 80% of the dating population? Maybe more? And yet somehow these people still manage to fuck it up just by opening their mouth like treating the date as an interrogation where your opening line is to question someone's sexuality.
I just went to get drinks with a guy and oh my god, it was horrible. Like, should be on a video of what not to do, ask, or say on like a first date with a girl. Clearly, I have short hair. And the first thing he said was, me and my roommate looked in your picture and we were discussing if you were like not straight. I was like, what? The first thing you say is you question my sexuality? Based on my haircut?
You know, women can have lots of hairstyles and not be gay, right? It's one thing to have a preconceived notion about what certain styles of hair or dress signal, but to assume every woman with a bob is queer or non-binary and then ask them about it to their face is weird and rude. You have to build some trust and rapport before you start discussing sexuality or what household objects you like to stick up your butt. I just realized I have a lesbian bob, I think. And to follow that up with telling her you were openly speculating about which team she bats for with your roommate is even more bizarre. We all know deep down our dating profiles are being analyzed by strangers and their friends, but please don't force people to confront the fact that the rest of the world continues to turn when we're alone or asleep. That's scary. We don't want to think about it.
This is me after the job, date, and wow, I had no idea someone could talk about themselves so much. It was like doing my job, where I'm a therapist, except far less rewarding, and I was not getting paid for that. He talked about himself 95% of the time, and the 5% of the time he asked me anything about myself, it was so that he could talk about himself relative to the question he had just asked me. So we are definitely getting married.
So this is another problem people seem to have when going on a first date. It's not a job interview or an opportunity to trauma dump on someone. Now, I do have to admit, as a younger man, I was guilty of trauma dumping and love bombing when speaking with women I was infatuated with. Hell, the first time I even heard those terms was when I was in my late 20s, and I definitely wasn't wise to all the manipulative, psychological tactics men use on women as a teenager. It's not like there's a pamphlet misogynist handout. These tactics are usually learned subliminally through conditioning and indoctrination. Sometimes people don't even know they're doing it, and it can just be a byproduct of being recently heartbroken or in a bad place mentally or emotionally, where you just want someone to vent on, not even something romantic in nature. This is not an excuse by any means, and I only pointed out to show that the patriarchy is bad for women and men. Regardless, you are absolutely not in a place to start up a relationship if you think a partner should be some kind of emotional cure-all. Looking for another person to fix what ails you is not a romantic relationship. It's not their responsibility to be your personal therapist. Even when you are in a happy, healthy relationship, you shouldn't be relying on them for everything emotional and psychological that you're going through. A little bit of sharing your frustrations is fine, obviously, but you as an individual still have to take accountability for your own thoughts and actions. Leaning on someone too much like this just breeds resentment. Your partner is not your mother. Just go to therapy or be alone for a while and do some self-reflecting. Have you tried TM, man? I want to make it clear that these behaviors are not exclusive to one gender or sexuality. After all, being an asshole doesn't discriminate. So with that being said, why are people having such a hard time with dating and dating apps? One is the patriarchy telling men, and sometimes women with a little bit of internalized misogyny, that they must be lewd, callous, and overly picky as a way to assert dominance or weed out undesirable matches in order to find the mythical one. Some individuals are conditioned into thinking that they need to peacock around like the Vogelkopf superb bird, when some people do not want that at all.
I don't need a macho guy. That's not what I need. I need a baby girl, okay? I need somebody sweet and sensitive and can drink coffee and talk shit with me. Like, that's legit it.
I'm so tired of these gender roles and how society has tricked huge segments of the population into believing they have to fit into some cookie cutter standard in order to be worthy of love. Humans, unfortunately, have a tendency to over-intellectualize everything, even romance, as if it's something quantifiable, and it's just so exhausting. Like there's a perfect key phrase that will immediately unlock the love hole of the object of one's affections like they're a Manchurian sleeper agent. The other reason being that these corporations are completely out of touch with what people are looking for in their romantic life. And capitalism, again. Dating apps, like other businesses, have to continually find new ways of growing and milking their audience for every last penny. This gets harder to do the bigger a company gets, where they might lean on manipulating their users by implementing an attractiveness scale for all the chads out there. They also have to provide a degree of safety, or the illusion of it, in their service so people continue to use it. This often backfires for various reasons, but mainly because they don't include the voices of those they claim to serve, or when they don't account for how these safety measures seem a bit Orwellian upon closer inspection. Tinder, for example, has had its fair share of privacy issues regarding the collection of precise time and location data of users, their messages, and certain biometric data like who you're looking at and how long you're looking. There's also been concerns in regard to how they verify that users aren't catfishing people or sending unsolicited dick pics by implementing the ability to do background checks on potential matches. This has obviously been criticized for its potential use in discriminating against those with criminal records, minorities, and other marginalized groups. The system itself has also been shown to be unreliable at best by providing outdated information in some instances. Even certain built-in functions meant to empower users, like the ability to report or block people misusing the service, can also be weaponized against marginalized groups who repeatedly get banned in bad faith, which is exactly what happened to YouTuber Cat Black. For anyone curious, apparently OkCupid is 1, still operating, and 2, a much friendlier space for the LGBTQ+ community, so that's cool. Bumble has also seen its own issues and controversies. The platform claims to be 100% feminist, and while it is progressive in some ways, like how it shifts traditional dating dynamics by requiring women to initiate conversations, it still leans more towards white feminism, in my opinion. By focusing solely on gender equality, the company often ignores other axes of identity that would make it truly intersectional by not accounting for the experiences of people of color, LGBTQ+ individuals, or those from different socioeconomic backgrounds, or who aren't traditionally attractive. They're really the gaslight gatekeep girl boss of dating sites. And this was pretty much proven with their current celibacy marketing campaign of billboards with messages like, "You know full well a vow of celibacy is not the answer. Hey, could you be more condescending?" It was criticized for being insensitive to those who choose celibacy for various personal reasons beyond being picky about who they want to bed, including asexuality, past trauma, or personal political statements about the current trend of right-wing lunatics ripping reproductive rights away from women. Bumble did end up apologizing and acknowledged the reasons people might choose celibacy, indicating a lack of initial intersectional awareness in their marketing strategy. But I don't know if you can really come back from calling every one of your users an incel.
Bumble changed women message first because Bumble was sued in a $3 million class action lawsuit, and it was settled out of court. The lawsuit claimed that the app was discriminating against male users who identified as being interested in women because the Bumble app only allows women to send messages first. I understand that the CEO of Bumble has said that women found it too burdensome and all the men are like running with that. But I personally am very skeptical of a tech company claiming to make changes for the preferences of its female user base, because I live in reality. Male users, particularly high income male users, are the ones most likely to pay to use a dating app. We are not the paying user that they're adjusting themselves for. It's pretty clear to me what the Bumble marketing team has decided will solve their problems. And it's the good old-fashioned marketing trick of shame women. The language that they use on the billboards where it's just single women is like very strong, very scolding, very religious. And then they signal to men. This is a very aspirational billboard for a man. Again, that's what I like to refer to as a man-shaped body. Any man can kind of like imagine himself in the arms of a gorgeous, beautiful, smiling woman. This is such a like male-coded ad to me.
To me, this highlights the fact that these platforms are companies governed by out-of-touch, most likely majority hetero gatekeepers and decision makers trying to increase their profit margins or to boost the company's valuation. When the prospect of love and companionship are controlled by capital, things get really messy, to put it mildly, and only further marginalize and alienate anyone outside of traditional romantic partnerships. You know, the thing Bumble claimed to be making a concerted effort to shift away from. Of these three apps, Hinge was the only one that didn't have a controversy or a lawsuit section on their Wikipedia, so they're doing something right. I mean, people still complain about them, but they just seem to hate it the least. pretty low bar. Some of the pros to Hinge are that you don't have to necessarily match with someone to interact with them and can respond to specific sections of a person's profile. It doesn't prioritize photos as much as Tinder or Bumble, and the aforementioned voice memos are an endless well of entertainment.
I'm about to jump into the world's largest blender. It'll be the greatest thrill of my life.
A lot of those discouraged with Hinge are so more due to how users interact with and use the app, like putting "just ask" under the "best way to ask me out" prompt. I think in general, Hinge would have been incredible if it had come out 15 or 20 years ago. Unfortunately, at this point, we're also tired of the dating landscape and social media in general. We know these apps cause brain rot, reduce our attention span capacity by making us all digital dope fiends, further exacerbate issues of sexual objectification and body dysmorphia and eating disorders, and allow people to act on their worst impulses by hiding behind a little bit of anonymity. While Hinge might be the lesser evil in the dating app landscape, it's still a part of a larger problem. We're so disillusioned with online dating that even the best option feels like a chore rather than a chance for meaningful connections. I could go on and on about the nuanced use cases of dating apps, both positive and negative, but right now, online dating feels more like a catch-22, where so much of our lives exist online, and it's nearly impossible to live without some kind of digital footprint. It's a foregone conclusion that we'd also use it to find love. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. For some people it is. While there are common frustrations, it's important to remember that everyone's experiences are unique, and there are also many who've had positive outcomes. However, for those who are disillusioned, I honestly don't think anything has really changed in how we interact with someone romantically. Trying to foster meaningful relationships through screens definitely worsens the feelings of isolation and lack of community. Dating apps simply provide an illusion of safety against things like rejection and embarrassment. But it's not real. We've been given the opportunity to meet thousands of people online we never would have in real life, and there are benefits to online dating, especially for those with disabilities. They can provide a genuine opportunity to meet someone in an accessible way, and I'm not discounting that. But, like I pointed out earlier, there will always be craven, intolerant bigots who abuse the platforms just to insult marginalized people, so, you know? At the end of the day, the current state of dating just makes me sad that there are good and kind people going out of their way to create a real connection only to get mistreated on a platform whose messaging is, "it starts with a swipe," as if it's that fucking easy. So let me leave you with a little bit of wisdom someone overheard from a 17-year-old. I know, just trust me, okay?
Kid on the train just gave his friend advice, and I think he cured my subconsciousness. From what I understood, his friend has a crush on a girl, and he can't really talk to her because he's scared of what he'll say will sound dumb. And his friend was like, dude, you have to assume people like you. It's like, first of all, you assume people like you, insane. And he said, if you don't know them, you have to assume F them. I was listening to this, like, goddamn, did he get this from TikTok? Or, like, did he come up with this? I'm eavesdropping. And he's curing me. And his friend was like, yeah, maybe I'll talk to her. I was like, dude, you just got Mahatma Gandhi's advice over here. You got a sage wisdom. Excuse me? Speak a little louder? Like, that's helping me. I think you just saved me some money with therapy.
You're not gonna die from rejection. And speaking directly to the men watching, don't take it personally and then attack women if they decline your advances, you lunatics. It's part of the risk of putting yourself out there, whether it's online or IRL, and it doesn't give you cause to berate them or demand love or sex. And if you can't take it, you fucking baby, you probably aren't ready for all the pain and struggle an actual relationship brings. Not to mention the work, cause this shit ain't easy, and dating apps aren't making it easier. That's the video. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you made it this far, that means you're special. Please be sure to like and share and subscribe. I recently shut down my memberships because I think I started them too soon, guys. I didn't have enough time to make extra content for the people that had subscribed. I really do appreciate you if you did, essentially donate a couple of bucks for the last few months or however long you were a member for. Maybe at some point I'll start a Patreon. There's just more functionality on Patreon. I thought it would just be more streamlined to try YouTube's memberships, but it kind of sucks. I know I've been gone. This has been a while between videos. I think you all know at this point, I was in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. The Ozarks, which I didn't realize that's where those are at. And I went to a bunch of like Dixieland shows, essentially, like real Midwest Americana religiosity kind of shows, which kind of, it was wild. So I'm gonna do that video. It's probably gonna be kind of long. I have to figure out how to rip a DVD from one of the shows I went to, but that's what's coming up. So thanks so much. I know I always ramble at the end. Go follow me on Instagram. And until next time, vanish.